So I needed to replace the counterbalances in this Andersen Narroline window. It's an older model, probably from the 80s. And as you will learn, if you're going to replace the counterbalances, you have to remove the jam liner along the left side of the window here, which is this piece here. And you have to do that by removing the screws. You can see the screw holes, which came out easily, but then you have to slide this jam liner down and away to get it to come out of here. And I had a heck of a time doing that because the edge of the jam liner, as you can see, was permanently affixed in here behind this molding, this part of the window frame. So what I ended up having to do was use a sharp knife here, and I had to work it in here and cut the jam liner, cut through the plastic all the way up here, all the way up along the jam liner before I could slide the jam liner down and out. So none of the other videos I've seen talked about this, but I was able to do that with not too much damage to the jam liner. I did have to cut that lip off the jam liner here, and it took me a long time to figure out how to do this because none of the other videos talked about the jam liner that was fastened in to the window frame this way. So I thought I would explain what I had to do now. It looks like I have to remove this molding in order to remove the two sashes because they won't go out to the outside. They have to come back in this way. So that's my next step. So after much head scratching, I was able to get the sashes out, the double hung two sashes out of this Andersen window. I believe this window is the Narroline series from the 80s, and I think it's Andersen 8470 is what's written on the glass, etched into the glass. But of course these sashes don't come out nearly as easily as the modern windows with the tilt feature or sort of quick release fittings. With this one, you have to actually, not only you have to remove the jam liner on the left side, which I showed in the previous video, and I'll show you what it looks like when that's out here, but you also have to remove these sash stops. It's called a sash stop over here on the left side. And you see now where the jam liner was, the plastic that I removed there, that was troublesome to get out because it was there was a lip of the jam liner that extended under here, and I couldn't get it loose, so I had to cut it with a knife, as I showed in the previous one. But then I still couldn't get the sashes to pivot out here into the room because of this sash stop here, which was sticking out. So I ended up having to remove this whole piece. See, it's nailed on here. Extends the full height of the window, and then remove this other piece of molding, which I guess is called the sash stop, which was also nailed on. None of this was designed to be easily taken apart, which you have to do to replace the counterbalance or balancer up top. So now once I removed those, which was difficult to do without damaging them, but I was able to work putty knives in along this here, and eventually I got a bar in there, a stiff bar of steel, and I was able to pry it apart without damaging the edges very much. And then I was able to pull the sashes back down and just pivot them out and remove them, as you see on all the other videos from Andersen and all. But this is, as far as I know, this is the only video that discusses how you remove these sash stops. So if you've got the older style window and you don't want to replace the entire thing with the new tilt Andersen windows, this is what you got to do. You got to take this off, these pieces off to get your sashes out, which then come in here. I don't think there's any way to remove this piece, which interfered, so I couldn't bring the sash out of the house. It wouldn't come out that way. I don't think this can be removed at all. Sorry for the poor quality video. I'm just trying to hold this camera in my hand, but I thought I would post this on YouTube because if anybody else is trying to figure out how to get the sashes out this is what you got to do with these older Narroline Andersen windows. And now I've got to go up here and remove this head jamb, which ought to come off pretty easily here. And then I can, once I get that off, I'll replace those counterbalances up there, which look like this. I've already ordered the new ones. There are several different models from Andersen depending on the weight. I think it's the weight of the window, which model of window and how heavy it is. You get the different one. I got the, I guess it's the 837, it says right there. Counterbalance or balancer. So we'll see if that'll work.